Assalamualaikum. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly wait for only 5 minutes as the chief guest has arrived and is waiting in the guest house. So he will be arriving soon. So in just 5 to 10 minutes, we'll start our program in a while. Honorable chief guest, Mr. Kapil Sibal Saab, guest of honor, Professor Faizan Mustafa sir, and Professor Mohammad Habib Rada Saab, President AMUTA, Professor Mohammad Khalid, Honorary Secretary, Professor Ubaid Ahmad Siddiqui, and Joint Secretary, Dr. Saad bin Javed, all the Executive Committee members, and dear colleagues. Assalamu alaikum, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Sabiya Tabassum, Executive Committee member of AMUTA, and it's my absolute pleasure to be your host on this day. Before beginning this program, may I request our chief guest of honor, to come on the dais. Ubaid sir, Khalid sir, Joint Secretary sir, Habib Rada Saab. Guest of honor, Habib Rada Saab. So before we proceed, let us take a moment to acknowledge the importance of this event. Today, we aim to gain insight into educational and cultural rights of minorities and Indian Constitution. As per tradition, to begin the program, I call upon Qari Javed Saab to recite some verses of the Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين. لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون. فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين. صدق الله العظيم.
Because of the rain, we have scheduled this event here. and all is well today. So it's an honor and privilege to welcome you all to this esteemed gathering. Today we are privileged to have with us a luminary whose contribution to law, governance, and education have left an indelible mark on our society. We are fortunate to have with us Mr. Kapil Sibal as our chief guest today, a personality who need no introduction, a visionary leader, a seasoned politician, and a brilliant lawyer, an inspiration to many. We also have with us today our guest of honor, Professor Faizan Mustafa, an Indian academic and legal scholar, the former Vice Chancellor of Nalsar University of Law, Hyderabad, and the founding VC of National Law University of Odisha, presently serving as the Vice Chancellor at Chanakya National Law University, Patna, and Professor Mohammad Habib Raza Saab, Dean Faculty of Medicine and Professor at the Department of Surgery, Jain Medical College, as our guest of honor today. And I would like to take a moment to welcome our esteemed guest with bouquet presentation. May I kindly invite Dr. Nazish Begum, Executive Committee member, to present the bouquet to our chief guest, Mr. Kapil Sibal Saab. Guest of honor, Professor Fazan Mustafa sir. Thank you, sir. Guest of honor, Professor Mohammad Habib Raza Saab. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. A man of many talents, Mr. Sibal has served as the Union Minister for Law and Justice, Communication and Information Technology, and Science and Technology in the Government of India. His contribution to the legal field, education, and public service are unparalleled. A graduate of Harvard Law School, Mr. Sibal has been a strong advocate to justice, equality, progressive reforms. His eloquence, intellect, and dedication to the nation have made him a role model for many. Now I would like to invite Professor Mohammad Khalid, President AMUTA, to give a welcome address to our esteemed guest today. Khalid, sir.
Respected Shri Kapil Sibal ji, guest of honor, Professor Faizan Mustafa, Professor Mohammad Habib Raza, Dean Faculty of Medicine, esteemed senior teachers, and many of them I can see retired teachers who are among the audience, and AMU court members, my dear colleagues in the AMUTA, and friends. A very good afternoon to all of you. It's my profound honor and privilege as the president of Aligarh Muslim University Teachers Association to stand before you today to felicitate a towering legal luminary, a charismatic statesman, and above all, a true and genuine prince of Aligarh Muslim University, Shri Kapil Sibal. Sir, we welcome you to this hallowed portal of learning. We are grateful to you for having spared your precious time to be with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, Shri Kapil Sibal's journey is nothing short of extraordinary. after graduation from St. Stephen College, Delhi University, and Harvard Law School. He turned down the prestigious Indian Administrative Services to pursue his passion for law. His extraordinary brilliance, dedication, unwavering commitment to justice have left an indelible mark on Indian jurisprudence. And what a remarkable legal career it has been. He has practiced law on Wall Street, served as Additional Solicitor General of India, has been a four-time president of Supreme Court Bar Association, and recently elected in 2024 and 25. In his illustrious career, he has represented some of the most high-profile cases in Indian legal history, standing as a fierce advocate for justice and constitutional integrity. As a member of parliament, he first entered the Rajya Sabha in 1998 and later won the Lok Sabha election from Chandni Chowk in 2004 and 2009. Under Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh government, he held key ministerial portfolios, leading India's charge in global diplomatic forum, notably representing country at the World Economic Forum in Davos and United Nations Climate Summit in Bali, and Annapolis Conference held together international support for establishment of Palestinian state and realization of Israeli-Palestinian peace. He has also been a former reformer in education, and he was a minister of HRD and introduced continuous and comprehensive evaluation system in class 9th and 10th, and played also a very crucial role in IIT JEE reform. His impact transcends law and politics. He is also a poet, which is very little known to all of us, with his anthology of poem, I Witness Partial Observation, published by Raleigh Book, New Delhi, and lyrics penned down for Bollywood film also. Teri Veena and Mast Hawa for Shorgul film, and for also A.R. Rahman musical album, Raunak, Conversation of Music and Poetry. But today, we are just not celebrating a renowned lawyer, an astute politician, and erudite scholar. We are honoring a selfless champion of constitutional values, a God-sent angel who stood with Aligarh Muslim University in hour of need, fighting the case for its minority character in the Supreme Court of India, not for any personal gain, without charging a single penny. Purely out of conviction and deep concern. We are celebrating and gratefully acknowledging the critical contribution of Shri Kapil Sibal, the friend of AMU. Sir, your advocacy for AMU is not just about legal arguments, it is about protecting the legacy of Sir Syed Ahmed Khan, about safeguarding the fundamental rights of minorities in this great nation, and about ensuring that ideas of inclusivity and education remains enshrined in Constitution. Sir, your steadfast commitment has reassured us that no matter how heavy the burden of oppression, justice will always prevail. The minority character case is not just a legal battle for us, it is a fight for the very identity and legacy of this great institution. When inimical forces try to undermine the rights enshrined in our Constitution, you stood with us, unwavering, relentless, fearless. Sir, your name will be remembered in annals of AMU history, not just as a legal stalwart, but as a guardian of its values and legacy. You have proven that courage is not just about standing in courtroom, but standing for what is right. Your selfless fight was not just for an institution, but for the ideals of justice, equity, rights guaranteed in the Constitution. Sir, as we honor today, we are also eager to hear your insight on a matter of great significance, educational and cultural rights of minorities under Indian Constitution. Your wisdom and experience will serve as a guiding light for all of us, especially in these sensitive times when constitutional guarantees of minorities are being debated across the nation. On behalf of AMU Teachers Association, the faculty, the students, and every member of this proud institution, I extend my heartfelt gratitude and deep appreciation of your invaluable services to AMU. May your wisdom continue to guide us and your unwavering sense of justice inspire generations to come. On behalf of AMUTA and AMU teaching fraternity, I once again extend a very warm welcome to you, sir, to this function. I end my speech with a couplet for your utmost respect and admirations. नजर नजर में उतरना कमाल होता है, नजर नजर में उतरना कमाल होता है, नफस नफस में बिखरना कमाल होता है, बुलंदियों पे पहुंचना कोई कमाल नहीं, बुलंदियों पे पहुंचना कोई कमाल नहीं, बुलंदियों पे ठहरना कमाल होता है. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I kindly request Honorary Secretary AMUTA, Professor Ubaid Ahmed Siddiqui, to present a shawl to Mr. Kapil Sibal as a symbol of appreciation for his contribution to our beloved university. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, as we celebrate the remarkable achievements of Mr. Sibal Saab in the realm of minority status of AMU, we are privileged to honor him with a citation. To read the citation, may I invite Honorary Secretary Ubaid Ahmed Siddiqui to come on the dais and share his thoughts.
The chief guest of the function today, Shri Kapil Sibal Saab. The guests of honor, Professor Fazan Mustafa, Professor Mohammad Habib Raza, President of Aligarh Muslim City Teachers Association, Professor Khalid, the Joint Secretary, Dr. Saad bin Javed, the members of the Executive Committee of Association, members of the Executive Council, the court members, ladies and gentlemen. So before I read out the citation, I would, on behalf of the association, would like to acknowledge the efforts of Shri Kapil Sibal for his untiring efforts that he put in for the cause of Aligarh Muslim City. And not only the association, the whole Aligarh fraternity, the Aligarh community all over the world will remain indebted to you for your efforts, sir. On this occasion, when we celebrate the joy, the whole Aligarh community, when we are here to celebrate the joy, I would also like to thank the efforts of Professor Fazan Mustafa as a legal constitutional expert for his efforts that he tried to put in the meticulous, the intricacies, making him understand how we are going to lead in the minority character case. We acknowledge his effort and we remain indebted to you also, sir. I would also like to thank the members of the association, the members of the Executive Council, Professor Moinuddin, Professor Aftab Alam, both members of the association, for their efforts in devising the legal framework for our fight in the Supreme Court. So the association will also like to acknowledge their efforts, Professor Aftab and Professor Moinuddin. The association will also like to thank all the people in the university administration, especially the legal section of the university, the Vice Chancellor, who have been providing their inputs and all the logistic supports that were provided for our cause in the case of minority character in the Supreme Court. So we, from the bottom of our hearts, sir, welcome you all. We remain indebted to you for your effort, and we appreciate your concern and acknowledge the effort that you all have been putting in. So I'll be now reading out the citation that we'll be giving to Shri Kapil Sibal Sahab. This is the citation of honor presented on behalf of the Aligarh Muslim University Teachers Association to Shri Kapil Sibal. On the occasion of his gracious visit to the Aligarh Muslim University Staff Club on March 1, 2025, and his illuminating address on educational and cultural rights of minorities under the Indian Constitution, we acknowledge his lifelong contributions to law, governance, and public discourse. In any democracy, protecting minority rights is not an act of generosity, but a fundamental necessity. Shri Sibal has been at the forefront of this struggle, challenging legal and political frameworks that seek to dilute constitutional protections and distort historical narratives. His unwavering legal advocacy in defense of Aligarh Muslim University's unique character exemplifies his broader commitment to autonomy, pluralism, and justice. Through his interventions in courtrooms, parliament, and public discourse, he has consistently defended democratic values against forces that seek to erode freedoms and silence dissent. His voice remains essential, not only as a force of legal resistance, but as a reminder that justice is not granted but fought for. With deep respect and appreciation, we honor Shri Kapil Sibal for his lifelong commitment to defending the marginalized and ensuring that the Constitution remains a living force of justice. Thank you very much.
To present this token of appreciation, may I invite all the executive committee members of AMUTA to join me in welcoming Mr. Kapil Sibal Sahab. The citation recognizes Mr. Kapil Sibal's unwavering dedication and exemplary service to the minority.
अरे देखो मुझे क्या पता होगा रखा हुआ नहीं मुझे नहीं पता बेटा
मैंने इनसे कहा वो नहीं आई है वहाँ मैंने तो आ जाओ बाहर तो सुनिए
अरे ये बताओ कल कितने बजे मैच 9 बजे निकलना है अराउंड 7:30 ठीक 7:30
Thank you, sir. Dear colleague, we are privileged to have with us today our guest of honor, Professor Faizan Mustafa. Professor Faizan Mustafa is a distinguished legal scholar and academician, renowned for his expertise in constitutional law and his significant contribution to law education in India. His academic journey is marked by excellence. He is a gold medalist in LLM from Aligarh Muslim University, where he also earned his PhD in copyright law. Beyond academia, Professor Mustafa is dedicated to public legal education. He runs the Legal Awareness web series on YouTube, aiming to demystify complex legal issues for the general public. His commitment to legal literacy reflects his passion for empowering individuals through knowledge. It's my honor to invite Professor Faizan Mustafa to the dais to share his insight with us. Professor Faizan Mustafa.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। अलीगढ़ बड़ी अजीब जगह है। कपिल सिब्बल साहब, सदर मोहतरम, सेक्रेटरी साहब, अमूटा के एग्जीक्यूटिव काउंसिल, अदीब भाई, तमाम मेरे सीनियर्स, कुछ कलीग्स लॉ फैकल्टी के भी हैं, कुछ स्टूडेंट्स भी हैं। अजीब इसलिए है कि हम समझ रहे थे कि हम घर वाले हैं, चाहे दाल ही समझें, ये है ना घर की मुर्गी दाल बराबर, लेकिन मुझे ये एहसास था कि शायद हम अलीगढ़ में कभी मेहमान नहीं हैं। तो गेस्ट ऑफ ऑनर सेक्रेटरी साहब डिसऑनर है, अलीगढ़ में गेस्ट ऑफ ऑनर नहीं बनना चाहते। और अजीब जगह है, यहाँ तो हम कीनोट एड्रेस देने की कंसेंट भी नहीं देते, तब भी लोग फेसबुक पे लिख देते हैं। दरअसल इस पूरे मामले में जो मोस्ट ऑथेंटिक विटनेस और गवाह कोई हो सकता है वो मैं हूं। मैंने बार बार कहा है कि ये केस मेरी रजिस्ट्रारशिप में शुरू नहीं हुआ, ना रिजर्वेशन का फैसला हुआ। ये सारे फैसले दिसंबर जनवरी 2004-05 में होंगे और मैं रजिस्ट्रार 8 अप्रैल को बनूंगा। और इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट में पहला इंटरिम ऑर्डर 11 फरवरी 2005 को हो चुका। तो मैं कहीं बीच में आ गया या ले आया गया, मुझे मालूम नहीं था। अगर मालूम होता कि इतना बड़ा केस मुझे लड़ना है तो शायद मैं रजिस्ट्रार बनने की भी कंसेंट ना देता। बहरहाल कपिल सिब्बल साहब का इस केस से पहले दिन से ताल्लुक है और बहुत लोगों को नहीं मालूम, और क्या उनका ताल्लुक है रास्ते में एक आध बात मैंने बताई जो सिब्बल साहब को भी नहीं मालूम थी। जस्टिस सगीर हमारी एग्जीक्यूटिव काउंसिल के मेंबर थे, सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जज रह चुके थे। नसीम अहमद साहब वाइस चांसलर थे। जाहिर है कि जब केस हो गया तो सगीर साहब को कंसल्ट किया गया और सगीर साहब ने राकेश द्विवेदी का नाम बताया कि इलाहाबाद के हैं और इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट में राकेश द्विवेदी साहब जो हैं वो अलीगढ़ की तरफ से बहस करेंगे। अब क्योंकि केस MD/MS का था, जैसे हमारे हबीब रजा साहब हैं, क्योंकि जाहिर है कि यहाँ मेडिकल कॉलेज के ऑडिटोरियम में हो रहा है तो मेडिकल के ही लोग होंगे ना, तभी तो वहाँ प्रोग्राम कर पाएंगे। तो प्रिंसिपल मुबश्शिर साहब थे, तो प्रिंसिपल मुबश्शिर साहब और मैं राकेश द्विवेदी साहब से मिलने गए उनको इंगेज करने के लिए। तो राकेश द्विवेदी साहब ने कोई फीस बताई जो अच्छी खासी ज्यादा थी और उन्होंने कहा मेरे 3 जूनियर्स होंगे और 5 लोगों की फ्लाइट के टिकट्स होंगे, ये होगा वो होगा। अब हमें उस जमाने तक लॉ पढ़ाते थे, लेकिन जाहिर है कि अदालत का इतना अंदाजा नहीं था। आपको मालूम है लॉ इन बुक्स और लॉ इन कोर्ट जरा डिफरेंट होता है। तो ये बात आके वाइस चांसलर साहब को खबर दी गई, उस पे एक मीटिंग बुलाई। उस मीटिंग में तब के फाइनेंस ऑफिसर शफीक साहब मौजूद थे,
एक्चुअली चार्जिंग में लगा।
प्रोफेसर मेहंदी अब्बास साहब थे, मेरे प्रेडेसेसर रजिस्ट्रार नाजिम अली साहब थे और एग्जीक्यूटिव काउंसिल के मेंबर वसीम साहब थे। अल्लाह जन्नत नसीब करे, वसीम भिंडी साहब जिन्हें कहते हैं। अब जैसे ही मीटिंग शुरू हुई और ये हुआ कि साहब सगीर साहब ने ये कहा और रजिस्ट्रार साहब राकेश, उन्होंने कहा रुक जाइए, ये कोई और नहीं देख सकता इस मामले को, कपिल सिब्बल साहब के अलावा और किसी की राय नहीं चलेगी। वो फोन किया गया, वाइस चांसलर साहब ने फोन किया। सर उस जमाने में साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी अर्थ के कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर थे, तो जाहिर है कि फोन पे उधर से क्या बात हुई मुझे नहीं मालूम, लेकिन उन्होंने कहा भेजिए रजिस्ट्रार साहब को। तो हम और वसीम भाई अगले दिन सर के घर गए, तो वो केस वेस हमने कुछ बताया। ये फैसला कि डॉक्टर राजीव धवन आर्गू करेंगे इस केस को, ना कि राकेश द्विवेदी, ये कपिल सिब्बल साहब का फैसला। और जो फीस राकेश द्विवेदी साहब ने मांगी थी उससे बहुत कम उन्होंने चलते वक्त मुझसे कह दिया बस इतनी दे देना। और इन्होंने सर ने धवन साहब से भी नहीं पूछा, खुद ही कह दिया। वो तो क्योंकि मैंने जब ब्रीफ शुरू की तो मैंने कहा हम उनके पास गए थे, उन्होंने ये फीस मांगी, तो बहुत कम फीस पे वो बात हो गई था। तो पहले दिन से इस केस में सर का रोल रहा। यही राकेश द्विवेदी 20 साल बाद सुप्रीम कोर्ट में हमारे खिलाफ आर्गू करेंगे और बड़ा जबरदस्त उन्होंने आर्गू किया कि साहब अकलियत जो होगी वो होनी चाहिए जो रूलिंग पार्टी है उससे कम। तो 1920 में तो यहाँ ईसाइयों की हुकूमत थी और मुसलमान तो ईसाइयों से ज्यादा थे, तो ये अकलियती नहीं थे, बात खत्म, और कुछ झगड़ा ही नहीं होगा। तो सिब्बल साहब खड़े हुए फौरन, बोले कि अब पोप की हुकूमत चल रही थी ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट में, तो बड़े स्ट्रॉन्ग आर्गुमेंट आपके खिलाफ लिए जिसको हम एंगेज करने जा रहे थे। और वो उस वक्त, क्या आपको तो सर मालूम नहीं था ये मामला, लेकिन इवेंचुअली ये हुआ, और राजीव धवन साहब ने यकीनन इस केस में बड़ा अहम किरदार अदा किया, और अपनी खराब सेहत के बावजूद भी वो बेचारे अपियर हुए। अब एक दिन इस केस का जो मैंने किस्सा सुनाया, जो मैं कह रहा हूँ अखिल सिब्बल साहब के बारे में, जो कपिल सिब्बल साहब को नहीं मालूम था। तो अखिल असिस्ट कर रहे थे डॉक्टर धवन को, डॉक्टर धवन लीड कर रहे थे। गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के लॉयर थे गोपाल सुब्रमण्यम। गोपाल सुब्रमण्यम को जिस दिन अपियर होना था इलाहाबाद में हियरिंग के दौरान, गुवाहाटी में मौसम खराब हो गया और फ्लाइट नहीं टेक ऑफ हुई, तो दिल्ली नहीं आ पाए, और दिल्ली नहीं आ पाए तो इलाहाबाद नहीं आ पाए। और उस जमाने तक इलाहाबाद में बहुत कम फ्लाइटें थी, अब तो बहुत ज्यादा दिल्ली इलाहाबाद कनेक्ट हो गया है। तो हम लोग रात में सोच रहे हैं, तकरीबन 7 बजे हैं, कि कल गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया को कौन रिप्रेजेंट करे। अब ये बात में कोई सिब्बल साहब का रोल नहीं है और कोई अखिल सिब्बल का भी रोल नहीं है। कुछ आंखों से अखिल सिब्बल की तरफ इशारा करके डॉक्टर धवन ने मेरी तरफ कहा, तो मैंने उनसे कहा हाँ। इसके बाद हमने बात नहीं की अखिल सिब्बल से। मैं बाहर आया और मैंने वसीम साहब को फिर कॉल किया। वसीम भिंडी साहब का भी रोल है इस केस। वो बीच बीच में मुझसे नाराज हो जाते थे, मगर बहुत लोगों से नाराज होते थे, लेकिन आदमी अच्छे थे, अल्लाह करी रहमत। मैंने कहा जाना है फौरन भारद्वाज साहब के पास, HR भारद्वाज लॉ मिनिस्टर थे। बोले 7 बजे है। मैंने कहा लेकिन कल मैटर है, फैक्स चाहिए मुझे कि गोपाल सुब्रमण्यम के बजाय कल की डेट में अखिल सिब्बल अपियर होंगे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के तरफ। मेरे पास तकरीबन 9, 9:15 बजे वो फैक्स आया। 9:15 से रात के 2 बजे तक मैंने ब्रीफ किया अखिल सिब्बल को, और मैंने कहा जब सुबह में उठ जाओ तो मुझे बताना। वो भाई भी सोया नहीं शायद, उसने मुझको 5:45 ही उठा दिया। और अल्टीमेटली यू बिलीव मी, वो है ना कि जीन में कुछ होता है, उसके DNA में था। 47 मिनट ही सर्वाइव बिफोर अरुण टंडन बेंच, और फिर उसके अगले दिन तक तो गोपाल सुब्रमण्यम आ गए। तो ये सिर्फ कपिल सिब्बल साहब का नहीं है, बल्कि पूरी फैमिली का हमारे ऊपर एहसान है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट में मैटर आ गया, और जाहिर है कि डॉक्टर धवन यूनिवर्सिटी के लॉयर हैं। कपिल सिब्बल साहब को फिर भी इस मैटर में रहना ही था। जनवरी में जब 2 और 3 डिग्री टेम्परेचर था, मैंने 7 हेली रोड पर रात 12 से 1 बजे तक, जब कोई भी नहीं है, ब्रीफ किया। और मुझे, क्योंकि मेरी एक नालसर की स्टूडेंट रूपाली आपकी जूनियर थी, उसने कहा सर 5 बजे उठ जाते हैं, मुझसे कहते हैं ये वाला पॉइंट और देखो। तो न सिर्फ 1 बजे तक ब्रीफिंग कोई लॉयर ले किसी से, और लॉयर्स ब्रीफिंग लेते हैं एडवोकेट ऑन रिकॉर्ड से, क्लाइंट से नहीं लेते हैं। मैं तो एडवोकेट ऑन रिकॉर्ड नहीं हूं, लेकिन मुझसे ब्रीफिंग ली। तो कितनी मेहनत इस केस में सिब्बल साहब ने की है, उसका अंदाजा नहीं लगाया जा सकता। कई और बड़े अहम केसेस छोड़ दिए। मैं बैठा हुआ हूं सिब्बल साहब के साथ ब्रीफ कर रहा हूं, फोन आ रहा है कि हेमंत सोरेन अरेस्ट कर लिए, अब चीफ मिनिस्टर है। मैं सुन रहा हूं सर चार्टर्ड फ्लाइट आपके लिए तैयार कर दी गई है। अब मेरा दिल दुख दुख कर रहा है कि अब तो ये कल चले जाएंगे। कौन अपियर होगा हमारे लिए? हेमंत सोरेन चीफ मिनिस्टर है, उसके लिए पूरा। और अचानक मैं सुन रहा हूँ करें नहीं ऑनलाइन होऊंगा मैं उनके लिए, अलीगढ़ का मैटर। इस तरह का जज्बा आप देख नहीं सकते। जब कोई सीनियर काउंसिल कोई केस लेता है, तो जिस वक्त उसका नंबर आता है बहस करने का, वो उस वक्त आता है और बहस करके फौरन चला जाता है। क्योंकि आपके लेवल के जो वकील होते हैं उनके 10-15 केस लगे होते हैं अलग अलग कोर्ट में। जैसे आपको मालूम है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट का मतलब एक सुप्रीम कोर्ट नहीं है, अलग अलग बेंचेस हैं 12-15। पूरी इस हियरिंग के दौरान सुबह से शाम तक, चाहे हमारी तरफ के वकील बहस कर रहे हों या गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की तरफ से या कोई और बहस कर रहा हो, सिब्बल साहब ने न सिर्फ अपनी बहस की बल्कि सारी बहस पॉइंट टू पॉइंट, मिनट टू मिनट, और हर बात पे तुषार मेहता और कौल और उनके बीच बीच में इंटरवीन किया। ये बहुत बड़ी बात है। इस दिन, एक दिन इस सारे मामले में अभी हमारे फॉर्मर चीफ जस्टिस ने बीबीसी को इंटरव्यू दिया और उन्होंने कहा ये भी तो देखिए ना उमर खालिद ने कितने एडजर्नमेंट लिए। एक एडजर्नमेंट का मैं गवाह हूं क्योंकि मैं साथ में बैठा हूं सिब्बल साहब के साथ कोर्ट के अंदर, और वो आ गया किस आ रहा है उसका नंबर, बोले छोड़ नहीं सकता हूं इस वक्त अलीगढ़ का मैटर, एडजर्नमेंट लो। अलीगढ़ के लिए एडजर्नमेंट लिया। मैं कुछ बहुत ज्यादा नहीं कहना चाहता हूं इस मामले में। जाहिर है कि केस पे सिब्बल साहब के सामने कौन मुंह खोले। मेरी एक ट्रिप इंग्लैंड जाने की थी और अच्छी लंबी ट्रिप थी, कई यूनिवर्सिटीज जाना था, कई जगह होटल की बुकिंग भी हो गई थी। तो मैंने सिब्बल साहब से कहा कि सब बहस तो हो गई, अब तो रिप्लाई होनी है, मुझे जाने दीजिए। दमन साहब राजी हो गए पर सर ने ओवर रूल कर दिया। बोले मियाँ बहस आपने कराई है, जवाब कोई और देगा, आपको यहाँ रहना पड़ेगा और आप पूरी जिंदगी रिग्रेट करोगे। अगर आप चले गए और हार गए तो आप ये सोचोगे कि हम रहते, शायद कम से कम कोई बात ऐसी होती, शायद बता दी जाती। सर बहुत अच्छा, आपका शुक्रिया। मैं बस एक कन्वर्सेशन आपको बताना चाह रहा हूँ पब्लिक, मुझे नहीं मालूम कि सिब्बल साहब को याद है या नहीं। अभी बहस शुरू किसी दिन की, कई दिन की बहस है वो तो किसी दिन की बहस है, मुझे नहीं मालूम किस दिन की है, याद नहीं आ रहा। सिब्बल साहब आ गए, धवन साहब आ गए और हम तीनों खड़े हुए बात कर रहे हैं। अचानक कपिल सिब्बल सर ने जो बात कही वो मैं आपको सुना रहा हूं, पब्लिक कर रहा हूं, कॉन्फिडेंशियल। मैंने इस मुद्दे पर किताब कोई नहीं लिखी। बहुत लोग कहते हैं किताब नहीं लिखते। जब तक ये 3 जजेस बेंच का जजमेंट नहीं हो जाएगा मैं नहीं लिखूंगा। अभी मंजिल थोड़ी और रह गई है, वो जब आ जाएगी तभी लिखूंगा, तब तक नहीं लिखूंगा, बहुत से इसके राज हैं। कपिल साहब कहने लगे धवन साहब, सर आपको याद आ जाएगा जैसे मैं खोलूंगा। बोले राजीव, बाबरी मस्जिद चली गई, बहुत मस्जिदें हैं, नमाज पढ़ लेंगे मुसलमान, 370 भी अपहोल्ड हो गया। बड़ा केस था, फेडरलिज्म का मामला था, कंट्री की टेरिटोरियल इंटीग्रिटी का मामला था, समझा जा सकता है। लेकिन अगर अलीगढ़ हार गए तो गरीब मुसलमान कहां पड़े। और इसके बाद एक और जुमला बोला, इंस्टीट्यूशनली भी मुझे एक कंसर्न है। सर याद आ गया आपको? इंस्टीट्यूशनली भी मुझे ये कंसर्न है, जिस जुडिशरी में अक़लियत का यकीन कम हो जाए फिर वो जुडिशरी जुडिशरी नहीं रहे। सर सलाम है आपको, ये 15-20 करोड़ लोग आपका डेट रिपे नहीं कर सकते। जो कुछ आपने किया इस यूनिवर्सिटी को बचाने कोई आसान नहीं है। 56 साल पुराना जजमेंट, 5 जजेस बेंच का जजमेंट, फिर 2 इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट के जजमेंट। आज की क्या, जब मैं आपसे यहां मुखातिब हूं, क्या है सिचुएशन? इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट ने कहा कि 81 का लॉ अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल है क्योंकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजमेंट से कंट्राडिक्ट कर रहा है। वो जजमेंट खत्म हो गया, इसलिए 81 का लॉ तो वैलिड है। अगर 81 का लॉ वैलिड है, इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट का जजमेंट आज लॉ नहीं है, तो आप एक अक़लियती इदारा हो आर्टिकल 30 के तहत, इतने बड़े जजमेंट को ओवर रूल कराना इन हालात में। इलाहाबाद में जब हम आर्गू कर रहे थे तो हमारी एक स्ट्रेंथ थी, यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया हमारे साथ आर्गू कर रही थी। जब हमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट में ये जीत मिली है, और जाहिर है कि वकीलों के लिए जीत से कोई मतलब नहीं है। सर आपको याद होगा कि आप से रिक्वेस्ट जैसे ही हियरिंग खत्म हुई, खालिद साहब ने और उबैद साहब ने और हाफिज साहब ने जाकर की कि हम अलीगढ़, आप जजमेंट तो नहीं आया था, सिर्फ रिजर्व हुआ था। इसलिए क्योंकि वकील का काम बहस करना है, आपने बहस कर दी। ये जजमेंट से की वजह से आपको नहीं बुलाया है, आपको बुलाया है आपकी बहस की वजह से। जब हालात जो हैं आपके सामने हैं, उसमें कैसे एक इतनी बड़ी कम्युनिटी जो है वो सरवाइव करती है। डिप्रेशन है, फ्रस्ट्रेशन है, कहीं गुस्सा भी है, वो सरवाइव करती है आपके बूते पर। हिंदू कम्युनिटी के वो लोग जो आपकी तरह हैं, वो अक़लियतों को कॉन्फिडेंस देते हैं। और ये वही लफ्ज हैं जो संविधान सभा में, कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली में कहा गया था कि आर्टिकल 29 और 30 क्यों चाहिए, ताकि एक सेंस ऑफ सिक्योरिटी एंड कॉन्फिडेंस माइनॉरिटी में आ जाए। सर हम बेहद ममनून और मशकूर हैं कि आप तशरीफ लाए। इतने बड़े वकील, 13 महीने में हमें अपॉइंटमेंट मिला है यहाँ लाने के लिए, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
Thank you so much, sir. We are profoundly grateful to you for honoring us with your presence and sharing such valuable insights. And in fact, मुझे नहीं लगता कि पूरे महफिल में किसी को ये सारी चीजें पता थी. And every sentence of yours were creating a goosebumps. So now may I kindly request Dr. Furqan, Executive Committee member of AMUTA, to present a memento to Professor Faizan Mustafa. This memento symbolizes our respect and appreciation for your valuable contribution to this university. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Furqan. Dear colleague, we are privileged to have with us our next guest of honor today, Professor Mohammad Habib Raza, awarded University Medal for standing first in the pre-medical examination of AMU in 1977. He did his MBBS and MS from Jain Medical College, AMU, a recipient of Young Outstanding Surgical Teacher Award at BHU, and Eminent Senior Surgical Teacher Award by the UP Association of Surgeons of India, and International Best Researcher Award, ISN Award Trichy. Professor Mohammad Habib Raza is also a member of various scientific bodies and associations like Association of Surgeons of India, ASI, Society of Endolaparoscopic Surgeon of India, etc. And he is presently serving as Dean Faculty of Medicine. May I invite Professor Mohammad Habib Raza Saab to the rise to share some words with us. Sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Now it's good afternoon. First of all, Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Dr. Mr. Kapil Sibal Sahab, President of the Supreme Court Bar Association and former Minister and a renowned advocate of the Supreme Court. Guest of honor, Professor Faizan Mustafa, President of AMUTA, Dr. Khalid, Professor Khalid, Secretary Professor Ubaid Siddiqui, Executive Council members, members of the Staff Association, members of the faculty, members of the university, ladies and gentlemen. आज की सुबह जब हम उठे तो बारिश हो रही थी और ओले गिर रहे थे और इससे इस मजलिस को काफी नुकसान होने का अंदेशा था। ये मजलिस स्टाफ एसोसिएशन के लॉन्च में होती थी, जो कि बहुत बड़ी गैदरिंग की उम्मीद थी, लेकिन इस बारिश ने थोड़ा खेल खराब कर दिया और ये हॉल जो है ये ऑलरेडी बुक्ड था। एनेस्थीसिया की कार्डियोपल्मोनरी रिससिटेशन का वर्कशॉप था। प्रोफेसर खालिद साहब का सुबह 7:45 मेरे पास फोन आया कि हम लोग फंस चुके हैं और हमारे चीफ गेस्ट आ रहे हैं और हमारे पास कोई जगह नहीं है, तो हम क्या करें। हमने कहा कि कपिल सिब्बल साहब अगर मेरे घर में भी आएंगे तो रात के 12 बजे मैं वो घर खोल दूंगा, क्योंकि उन्होंने हमारे लिए ऐसा काम किया है जो आज तक मेरी नॉलेज में, जो 34 साल मुझे इस यूनिवर्सिटी में हो गए, किसी ने नहीं किया। तो उसके बाद फौरन ही मैंने एक मीटिंग बुलाई और जो कार्डियोपल्मोनरी रिससिटेशन का जो प्रोग्राम था बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट, उसको मैंने यहाँ से लेक्चर थिएटर 1 में शिफ्ट कर दिया और खालिद साहब को और रुबैद सिद्दीकी साहब को मैंने ग्रीन सिग्नल दे दिया कि यू गो हेड विद द प्रोग्राम। सो आई थिंक एंड नाउ आप देख रहे हैं हॉल, इसमें कैपेसिटी 250 की है, ये तो फुल है, लेकिन अगर वहाँ जहाँ पे ओरिजिनली प्लान था तो 2500 लोग होते सर आपको सुनने के लिए। दूसरे जो खास मेहमान हैं हमारे, फैजान मुस्तफ़ा साहब, वो हमारे अपने हैं, मेहमान नहीं है, उन्होंने पहले ही कहा है और सच भी है, वो यहाँ के रजिस्ट्रार भी रह चुके हैं और उन्होंने भी इस केस के अंदर अपनी जान लगा दी, अपने माल लगा दिया, अपना वक्त लगा दिया और उन्होंने हक अदा कर दिया। मैं आपके और चीफ गेस्ट के बीच में ज्यादा देर खड़ा नहीं होना चाहता, लेकिन उनकी 2 और चीजें हैं जो शायद बहुत से लोगों को पता नहीं होंगी जो यहाँ बैठे हैं, क्योंकि कुछ लोग बाद में आए और कुछ लोग उनसे पहले जा चुके थे। हमारे चीफ गेस्ट साहब डॉक्टर कपिल सिब्बल साहब इस यूनिवर्सिटी में 2012 में आए थे। उस वक्त ये HRD मिनिस्टर थे और इनके साथ गुलाम नबी आजाद साहब आए थे और उन्होंने एक बहुत बड़ा तोहफा हमें दिया था, वो था डायबिटीज सेंटर, राजीव गांधी सेंटर ऑफ डायबिटीज एंड एंडोक्राइनोलॉजी। लेकिन हम अपना एहसान कभी नहीं भूलते, इसलिए कपिल सिब्बल साहब का शुक्रिया आज भी हम अदा कर रहे हैं कि उन्होंने ये सेंटर दिया और वो सेंटर फला और फूला और आज उसमें डीएम कोर्सेज स्टार्ट करने का, दिस इज द ईयर व्हेन वी आर गोइंग टू स्टार्ट डीएम कोर्सेज इन दैट इंस्टीट्यूशन। अगर वो चीज हमें नहीं मिली होती तो अभी हम लोग डायबिटीज और दूसरे एंडोक्राइन डिजीज का इलाज ऐसे ही करते होते जैसे कि डिस्ट्रिक्ट हॉस्पिटल करता है। तो अभी इसमें उनका बहुत बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन है और मैं इसके लिए हमेशा शुक्रगुजार रहूंगा। दूसरी चीज जिसके लिए मैं कपिल सिब्बल साहब को बहुत शुक्रिया कहना चाहता हूं, जो ऑलरेडी बहुत डिटेल में बताया जा चुका है, उसको मैं रिपीट नहीं करना चाहता, बट ये कहना चाहता हूं कि उन्होंने हमारे माइनॉरिटी कैरेक्टर के लिए अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी की जो लड़ाई लड़ी है, ये सदियों तक और जब तक ता क़यामत याद रखी जाएगी। अभी उसके अंदर कुछ चीजें बची हुई हैं और हमें पूरी उम्मीद है, और आप सब जनता यहाँ जो बैठी है ये भी दुआ करें और इन दोनों स्टालवर्ड्स को आगे बढ़ने का इशारा दें, ताकि ये जो थोड़ी बड़ी उसके अंदर माइनॉरिटी कैरेक्टर के अंदर जो लूप होल्स बची हुई हैं वो भी दूर हो जाएं, ताकि अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी शुड बिकम अ माइनॉरिटी इंस्टीट्यूशन। आखिर में मैं सब लोगों का शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहता हूं और खासकर उबैद सिद्दीकी साहब का, खालिद साहब का और अमूटा एग्जीक्यूटिव कमेटी का, जिन्होंने हमें मौका दिया यहाँ बोलने का। और मैं समझता हूँ कि ये बहुत ही अहम मजलिस है और यहाँ से हम लोग बहुत कुछ आगे लेके जाएंगे। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you, sir. We are so grateful to you for taking the time to engage with us today and helping us in conduction of such an important event. And this rainfall is seen as a sign of blessing. It symbolizes a fresh start, our divine favor to this minority case. Now, I'd like to request, take a moment to honor our guest of honor, With memento presentation, may I request Dr. Siddharth, Executive Committee member of AMUTA, to present memento to Professor Mohammad Habib Reza sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Siddharth. Kapil Sibal Saab, an Indian lawyer and politician, a designated senior advocate, and currently the president of Supreme Court Bar Association, represented several high-profile cases in the Supreme Court of India and a member of Parliament in Rajya Sabha. Today, we are fortunate to have him share the thoughts on educational and cultural rights of minorities under Indian Constitution, a subject that holds immense relevance in India today. Let us give him a warm round of applause as we invite Mr. Kapil Sibal Saab to the dais. Kapil sir.
Kapil Sibal Saab deserves a standing ovation from the audience.
President of Aligarh Muslim Teachers Association, Khalid Sahab, my dear friend Faizan Sahab, Raza Sahab, Siddiqui Sahab, Joint Secretary Sahab, members of the Executive Committee of Aligarh Muslim University, Academic Council, teachers, students. I cannot possibly express my gratitude for the overwhelming response that I have received amidst my own people. We are all citizens of India, and I believe that that's our only identity. Everything comes later. Which religion I belong to, what I do in my personal life, which region I belong to, which state I live in. There's nothing to do with the fundamental basis of the Indian Constitution. That is citizenship. And these rights as a citizen were given to everybody who was in India when the Constitution was framed and we became a republic on the 26th of January, 1950. And the Constitution really was ultimately a compromise. It was a compromise of historical currents that were flowing prior to the Constitution. Everybody had to come together. Communities had to come together, castes, creeds, religious majorities, minorities had to come together. And we had been marauded by the British. We had been exploited by the British. They left us penniless. They left us homeless in a sense that they exploited our economic resources to such an extent that we had to start building a nation. And in that journey, we had to be all together. And the Constitution represented the principles and the parameters on the basis of which we would undertake this great journey of India. And if you look at the Constitution, you realize that as far as the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, as far as the backward classes were concerned, they were given some entrenched rights. Entrenched rights under Article 15, Article 16 of the Constitution, Article 15 in relation to education, Article 16 in relation to employment. But because those rights were given based on caste, those could not be conferred on the minority community, whether it was a Christian minority or other minorities, the Muslim minority. And because the Muslim minority was a sizable part of our population, and the Constituent Assembly debates reflected the concern of that section of the community to their own future, naturally, they had to be given some sort of assurance. And that's how we got the birth of Article 19, Article 29, Article 29, Article 30, Article 25, Article 26, Article 27, 28. And it is in that sense that we have to realize that this was part of the fundamental rights of citizens of India. They may belong to X, Y, or Z community. That's why it was put in the chapter of fundamental rights. I can share with you this fact that ever since I started practice 52 years ago, I have never appeared on the other side. Never once. Because whenever there's an invasion on the rights of a citizen, he may belong to any community, I have always stood by the citizen. So when Faizan Saab came to me and said that let's do this case, there's no way I could refuse it. And I can share one fact with you that but for him, we would not have won this case. The meticulous briefing, the history of the institution, how this institution was formed way back, and the historical perspectives that were necessary to be placed before the court. And Sir Syed's great journey from 1869 onwards, how ultimately a college was set up and how it was necessary under the imperial rule, if we had to become a university, we naturally there was no other choice except to become a university and give degrees to our children who could then be employed. And then came our constitution. And one of the quintessential questions that arose in the case was when the constitution comes into being, does a minority institution lose its status as a minority institution? That was one of the issues that was debated at great length in the Supreme Court of India. And the courts decided in our favor that once a minority institution is said to have been founded by members of the minority community, then that minority institution is recognized by the Constitution and doesn't lose its status. So that, in a sense, was a great victory for us. I won't go into the boring details and the legal arguments because that's not necessary. But then the other question that arose, which was also very, very important, that if you look at Article 30 of the Constitution, it says that all minorities based on religion or language have the right to establish and administer educational institutions by their choice, of their choice. So the question arose that, right, if you say that the AMU was founded prior to the Constitution, was recognized by the Constitution as a minority institution when the Constitution came into being, but if you do not satisfy the test of establishment and administration, you will not be considered to be a minority institution. And in that sense, Basha's case had decided the other way, namely that it was neither established by the minority, but it became a university, and it was not administered by the minority. So both tests were decided against us. So we had to overcome this Herculean task of trying to convince the court that the word establish and administration are not conjunctive but disjunctive. In other words, what was held in the past and what several high courts have held, that if you have established it and you are not administering it, in other words, the minority is not administering the institution, then you lose your status under Article 30. And the fact is that as far as the administration is concerned, there is nothing to show that it was to be administered by the Muslim community. That is presently the situation today. So we had to overcome this Herculean task of convincing the court that in fact this is disjunctive because it is governed by the word choice. Establish and administer educational institutions of your choice. So you set up a minority, you set up the foundations of a minority institution of your choice. And you have the choice to administer it yourself, and you have the choice to allow somebody else to administer it. That's a matter of choice, and the fundamental of any educational institution belonging to the minority is a matter of choice. What kind of minority institution to set up is my choice. What kind of courses in which I would teach my students is my choice. What kind of faculty I would recruit is my choice, except that I'll have to comply with standards set up for the purposes of the quality of education which is regulated by law. The quality of any educational institution is regulated by law, whether it's by the majority or the minority. You will have said that if you cannot recruit a teacher without a PhD in the medical course, that's a matter of regulation. That doesn't come into the matter of choice. The choice is I can have a medical degree, I can grant a medical degree, but who are the teachers, what qualifications they have is regulated by law, because that is a matter which is fundamental to the quality of the student who actually moves out of the university once he completes his education and tries to get a job. So the regulation of quality standards, either by the university or otherwise, is not a matter of choice. But it is my decision that I want to give some administrative control to some other authority. It is a matter of choice, because that's nothing to do with standards. And Supreme Court has held in several judgments that even a minority institution has no right to mismanage the institution. They have the right to manage the institution. They can't maladminister the institution. They have the right to administer the institution. So ultimately, and luckily for us, the court bought that argument and said this is disjunctive. You have the choice to have whosoever you want the institution to be administered by, and the kind of institution you want to set up. And Faizan Sahab, may I tell you this? There is nothing left in the case now. We'll have to win this case. There are no ambiguities. There are no loopholes. The principles have been clearly laid down in this judgment. We had a discussion on that issue while we were traveling here together from New Delhi. And I explained to the extent I could, because he's a master of the law, that this is what the judgment says, and there is no other way. So therefore, these two hurdles were there. The third hurdle was that, look, when the institution became a university and incorporated under the Imperial Act, then obviously you lose your status as a minority institution, because then you are governed by the Act, because the Act incorporates the university. And in incorporation of a university under an Act, results in losing your minority character. So then we had to make a distinction that incorporation of a university is a matter of law. The founding of a university is not a matter of law, that's a matter of fact. So we won that argument. And we said to the court that, look, there are so many universities, state universities, which are minority institutions, which are recognized even today as minority institutions in several states, which are regulated and are incorporated under a statute, yet they are minority institutions. Will you render a judgment to, in fact, decide that all those institutions are not minority institutions merely because the state has incorporated them? So we succeeded in that. So there were several hurdles to be crossed. You don't reach Everest till you deal with the climate on the way. So we dealt with that climate, and we dealt with it in a manner that was logical. And luckily, and I have to say luckily, because it's a 4-2 decision, actually, the fifth judge is neither against us nor for us. So there is still the feeling within the judiciary that the secular character of our country has to be protected. Because these are difficult times, very difficult times. I'll come to that a little later. But let me talk about what you asked me. Talked about a journey as far as the Muslim university is concerned. But let's talk about, educational rights and cultural rights. Now, when you talk about the difference as far as scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and backward communities are concerned, that they are allowed to be set up by the state, by private individuals, but they get aid from the government. Now, as far as minorities are concerned, when you set up an institution, you don't get aid from the government. There's no right to get aid from the government. So the problem with minorities in India, and we talk about educational rights, is that very few institutions, educational institutions, are set up because people don't have the wherewithal and the resources to set up those institutions. And the consequence is that if you look at the numbers in terms of the gross enrollment ratio in school, in higher secondary, in secondary education, you will see that most of the numbers suggest that the Muslim community is even below the scheduled tribes and the scheduled castes. In other words, as you move up the ladder from secondary to higher secondary to university, your numbers at the level of the university are even below the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes. Now, that's a very serious situation. And the reason for that is that whereas you got protection under Article 30 to set up an institution, it was difficult for the minority community, and it is difficult for the minority community to set up institutions. And so unless you deal with that issue as a community, you'll not be able to move forward. So it's time that the community looks inwards, decides for itself that the only way for empowerment, the only way for a citizen to raise his head high and be counted is to be educated. So as you move forward in this new journey, and I say new journey because you've not done it in the past, and please take the lead, Aligarh Muslim University. Please take the lead. As you move forward in this new journey, make sure your children go to schools. Make sure they go to higher secondary schools. Make sure that you collect money, and people have done it in Kerala, but you've not done it in this part of the world. Please make sure that they do that. Then you don't need the state, you don't need a lawyer, you can stand on your feet. The other problem with minority institutions is that, and this is not something that I have really understood, According to me, all institutions are alike. All educational institutions are alike. Why do we call it minority institution? All institutions are alike. Every member of the community belonging to the majority community or the minority community is entitled to set up an educational institution of his choice. Nothing wrong with it. But we think that if we do something for the minority, it is as if we are doing something special for the minority, which the majority cannot do. Which is just the opposite. You do nothing special. In fact, majority community has the advantage of state aid, which at this level you will get aid, but at other levels you won't get aid. So in a sense, this right that was given to you under Article 30 is an inchoate right. It's not complete. It's not a right which empowers your children to move forward in life, because you don't have the resources. And if you set up an educational institution, you set up a medical institution, it costs crores and crores and crores of rupees. Nobody has that kind of funding. This is the biggest problem that the Muslim community faces in this country. So, and I think that the other thing that you should do as a community, and this is not just for the minorities, it is for all communities, is that the world is changing. There is a paradigm shift. It's like if you remember the Industrial Revolution that took place in the 19th century, that Industrial Revolution brought about a complete economic shift in the way in which people work, in the way in which people move, and technology was at the heart of it. And I remember when the Industrial Revolution took place, London was one of the most polluted cities in the world. It took about several years to get rid of pollution in London, because every technological revolution brings with it certain dangers. And we are now in the midst of a new technology revolution, the world of AI, artificial intelligence, the world of robotics, and a world in which the digital economy will control the world. These American corporations, with their algorithms, can determine the way you think, the way you act. And this is very dangerous for all of us. And India as a nation is not even ready with it. So instead of government and all of us looking at these issues as to how actually to confront the new world, the coming of the new age, the new technological revolution which will change our lives, while looking at issues which are irrelevant. किसने क्या खाया, किसने क्या पहना, किसकी appeasement हो रही है, किसकी नहीं हो रही. How is that relevant to the future of India? It has no relevance. Talk about these issues. Your leaders should talk about these issues. Love jihad. How is that relevant to the future of India? Blood jihad. How is that relevant to the future of India? Places of Worship Act, Sambal. How is it relevant to the future of India? It has no relationship to the future of India. When politics of the day sidelines the economic ambitions of the nation, that nation can never be strong. The politics cannot determine economics. It's economics which will determine what the politics should be. But in this country, it's the other way around. And that's a very sad state of affairs. Since 2014, I, as a citizen of this country, and I really have no allegiance to A, B, or C. My allegiance is to the Constitution. As a citizen of this country, I get worried. And I'll share something with you that I'm worried about. Because that's the history of our country. We started with what? 2019 Citizenship Act, CAA. What has it got to do with future of India? Beef bans and cow vigilantism. How will it empower us? Anti-conversion laws. The revocation of Article 370. It's all political. Hate speech and communal rhetoric. Demolition of Muslim properties. Sambal violence. Waqf amendment. Police encounters. Bulldozer justice. Display of names on eateries. Implementation of UCC. Surge in anti-Muslim hate speech. Stoic silence on Manipur. I can go on and on and on and on. What has this got to do with the future of my country? Nothing. The future of my country depends on how young students out there empower themselves and move into the mainstream of the global community and show how great they are. That's the first task of a nation, the fundamental task of a nation. And I can tell you this, if you really look at the history of the world, it is a history, all those countries where education is of the highest standard are leading the world. I'll give you a little figure. If you look at R&D investment in the United States of America, it is $650 billion a year. $650 billion. If you see China's investment in R&D, it is over $500 billion. That's why it is where they are. And what is our investment? 50 billion. And what's our population? 140 crores. How do you want? I mean, how can you ever expect you to be a great nation if you don't invest? And all countries who have actually, Britain had universal education a long time ago. China, the first thing that they did was to have universal education. Our education is today about 80%. It's not universal yet. It was 74% when I was a minister in 2014. It moved up to 79 or 80%. Still not universal education. And the kind of quality of education, you know what it is. I don't have to say that. ASR report says everything. So this is the wrong path. The mullahs and the masjids and the temples and all that we do are the wrong way to move your people forward. I'm sorry, I have to say that. It's necessary to say that. Because that doesn't empower anybody. It breeds the kind of things that we see today. And all that is being done in my country is photo ops and, you know, and nothing more. And when you come to cultural rights, your cultural rights are enshrined in Article 1626, as far as the denominations are concerned, 26 of the Constitution. You have the right for freedom of religion, to pray the way you want, set up institutions the way you want, subject to only three things: health, morality, and public order. That's all. Those are the only three exceptions under 26 of the Constitution. So your language is your own. And what a beautiful language Urdu is. Beautiful language. Fortunately or unfortunately, when I was born this side of the border in 1948, but all my brothers and sisters and my parents were fluently spoke the language. In fact, when I went to Chandigarh, which is my hometown, in the evening it was only Shairi and nothing else. Which is Ghalib or Iqbal or whoever it was. And my father was a personal friend of many of these poets. So that's how we were built. And there were no problems at all. But suddenly we're finding the language is not being learned by enough young people. There are attacks on what we eat, what we don't eat. There are attacks on identity. This is not the way forward for our country. Everybody's culture, whether it's minorities or majorities, has to be respected. And it will only be respected if there is peace in society. If it becomes a source of conflict, then you will not respect cultures. So this is something that is sacred to all of us because we belong to different, our origins are different. And we have to respect each other for all that. So, as I said, my commitment to the Constitution is that I will stand for anybody whose rights are being invaded by the state, no matter what the state is. अब मैंने आपको बहुत कुछ कह दिया आज, तो मैं आपको कुछ सुना ही देता हूँ. मंजिल पे पहुंच के करूंगा क्या? मंजिल पे पहुंच के करूंगा क्या? वहां से वापस भी आना लाजमी है. मंजिल पे पहुंच के करूंगा क्या? वहां से वापस भी आना लाजमी है. ऐसा नशा के छोड़कर करूंगा क्या? ऐसा नशा के छोड़कर करूंगा क्या? मैं काने का दोस्ताना लाजमी है. दूर होकर भी बता करूंगा क्या कि तुम पाकिस्तान चले जाओ. दूर होकर भी बता करूंगा क्या? तेरे शहर में घर बसाना लाजमी है. तेरे शहर में घर बसाना लाजमी है. अपना बना के तूने अब ठुकरा दिया, फिर भी तुझको अपना बनाना लाजमी है. फिर भी तुझको अपना बनाना लाजमी है. गली गली में ये जो आग जल रही है, उस आग को हमें बुझाना लाजमी है. खुदा के वास्ते इस दहशती को छोड़ दे तू, ये गुलसिता उचाड़ना क्या लाजमी है. थैंक यू.
What an incredible session this has been. Thank you so much, sir, for that enlightening and thought-provoking address. Your words have truly left us inspired and reflective, and we are totally indebted to you for what you have done to our alma mater. So, as we come to the conclusion of today's wonderful event, it's time to express our heartfelt gratitude to all those who made it possible. I would like to invite Dr. Saad bin Javed, our Joint Secretary AMUTA, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Sabiha. So it is both an honor and a privilege to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the Aligarh Muslim Teachers Association. Firstly and foremost, I would like to thank our chief guest, Mr. Kapil Sibal, who is a man of many traits, and his commitment to safeguarding the Constitution and his commitment for the downtrodden and helpless is quite evident, not just inside the court, but inside the parliament also. And now, recently, he has also, at this age, he's also now a great advocate on social media also. So your intervention on social media has now transforming the journalism. So a great journalist, a great, a lawyer practicing is in himself, he's an institution in himself. And the quality that I admire most is your courage. So I think maybe the competence might be in other people also, but the courage that you show is quite inspirational. And we are
very grateful for you to come here and join us and give us your valuable time, which is valuable in both senses, literally and metaphorically. So I'd like to thank you for being present here and for enlightening us with your wisdom. Apart from that, I would also like to thank our guest of honor, Professor Faizan Mustafa, who's a great teacher of law now. So someone is practicing and someone is teaching law. So again, your contributions to this university and to the case that was talked about a lot in this seminar or in this presentation. So thank you very much for all your contribution. And we are very proud to have you in our university. You're still a professor in our university. So we are very, we're very privileged to have you as a professor in our university. We also like to thank Professor Habib Raza, who provided us this space in spite of being already occupied for a different seminar. So we are very grateful that you provided us this place. I also, when both of our guests were talking, I just thought when I was writing my presentation that we should also thank the framers of our constitution. So from this podium, I would like to thank the framers of our constitution and for their foresight and all the safeguards that they put in, because of which we are able to survive in this country with dignity. I would like to now thank our president and the secretary for their leadership that allowed us to conduct these kind of programs, which provide us space, which make us face to face with such luminaries and such distinguished people in our country. I would also like to thank all the executive committee members who were there to help us to conduct this program, especially Dr. Sabiha, who flawlessly conducted this program. Thank you very much, Sabiha, for your nice presentation. I would also like to especially thank Adib sir. आप इतनी जहमत और इतनी तकलीफों के बावजूद आप यहाँ पे तशरीफ लाए, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका तशरीफ लाने के लिए. जस्ट रोशनी बख्शी से अपने इज्जत बख्शी हमें यहाँ तशरीफ लाके. I would now like to thank Mr. Qari Javed Saab, who recited the verses of the Quran, the Tarana team who will be presenting the Tarana, student volunteers, Mohammad Hanzala, Imran Ahmed Khan, Izhan Khan, Bashir. Also, I'd like to thank all the executive committee members, executive council members who were there to help us in every step of the way. Also, we'd like to thank all the administration for providing us all the facility required for this kind of event. We are thankful for all the facilities being provided. Lastly, I'd like to thank all the audience for their keen participation in this program. It was a great pleasure to have you as an audience. Lastly, again, I would like to show our gratitude to Mr. Sibal for sharing his valuable insight and for sharing your time, sir. So very well done. Thank you very much.
जो अब्र यहाँ से उठेगा वो सारे जहां पर बसेगा. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a moment of pride and nostalgia as we invite the soulful voices of our university to take the stage. The AMUTA is it's not just a song, it's a heartbeat of every Aligarhian, a melody that connects to our glorious past and inspires us for the future. With great honor, I invite the Tarana team to the dais to perform our beloved song, Ye Mera Chaman. And after the Tarana team, we will stand at our places to join the national anthem.
चमन मैं अपने चमन का बुलबुल सरशार निगाहें ढल किस बरसाएंगे सुर सुंबुल ये मेरा चमन ये मेरा चमन ये मेरा चमन है मेरा चमन मैं अपने चमन का बुलबुल गरम में रोशन है शमा यहाँ भी डरती दृष्टि के गोशे गोशे से एक जुए हयात उभरती मानो ये दृष्टि जुनूने मानो का ये में वफा पर मानो की ये शहर तरब रूमानों का ये फुल बड़ी खिलता है जुनून का साज यहाँ खिला है जुनून का साज यहाँ ये मेरा चमन है मेरा चमन मेरा चमन का बज़्म में तेरे की चीज इस बज़्म में सागर तोड़े हैं बज़्म में आँख बिछाई है इस बज़्म में दिल तक जोड़े हर शाम है शाम हर शब है शब शीराज यहाँ हर शाम है शाम मिस्र जहाँ हर शब है शब शीराज यहाँ है सारे जहाँ का सोज यहाँ और सारे जहाँ का साज यहाँ शिकन से पाश यहाँ से पाश यहाँ मेरा चमन है मेरा चमन मैं अपने चमन का बुलबुल मेरा चमन ये मेरा चमन ये मेरा चमन है मेरा चमन मैं अपने चमन का बुलबुल वो अब रियाज से उठेगा वो सारे जहाँ पर बरसेगा हर जुए रवा पर बरसेगा हर कोहे गिरा पर बरसेगा हर सर को समन पर बरसेगा हर दश्त दमन पर बरसेगा ये हमेशा बरसेगा ये अब हमेशा बरसेगा ये अब हमेशा बरसेगा 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 आगे विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा बंग हिमाचल यमुना का उच्छल जलधि तरंग तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाए तब जय गाथा जन गण
आप बिल्कुल मत बदलिए उल्टे सीधे, समझी? उल्टे सीधे मत बदलिए, लाइए मैं प्रेस कर दूं कपड़ों पे आप।
जय जय
तो मैं क्या दे रहा हूँ ना, मैं आप लोगों से मैं उनसे कह
Thank you
देता
to
हूँ कि
all
हम
for
लोग बाजार
all
में है
who
नहीं,
participated and made the session a success. Let's continue to stay informed and involved as we work together to build a better future. So I request you all to join for the high tea waiting outside.